Well, good afternoon, everybody. I just decided to do a bit of a talk on a subject that I know I've covered in the past and so on, but I've got something a bit different here. It's a book that I've just got from the library. It's called Unacknowledged by Stephen Greer, MD. And for those people interested in doing a bit of research, you may like to note down the number ISBN 978-1-943-957-04-0. It's a very, very good book. It's, of course, on UFOs and aliens and all the rest of it, and the evidence is absolutely overwhelming on the subject. Of course, there are people out there who would think that's a load of nonsense, that I'm just talking rubbish and all the rest of it, and there's no evidence. Well, there is plenty of evidence, actually. And I would say anyone who wishes to take sort of time and trouble to investigate these things a bit more, to assure themselves one way or the other, is to get hold of that book from your local library. If you just go to your local library and give them the title or the ISBN number as well, if you wish, or so on. It's worthwhile reading, and you don't have to buy the book. You can get it from the library, as I said, and there is a movie out there of the same name. And the book, by the way, was on the New York bestseller list for last year. Where do you start, in other words? The whole thing is, it's full of testimonials and facts and details that are really interesting. And I've been around the subject for quite a few years. But as I said, if you add that in, you write the name down, Stanton Friedman, and go on YouTube and put his name down there. He's been investigating the subject for over 50 years. And let's say starting with the Roswell UFO crash in 1947. And there were a lot of witnesses and people who saw the bodies being removed and from the crashed craft. And it's very, very credible information. But further, I would say look into history, look into, one of the things that comes to mind is remote viewing. It's where, it's like ESP, you travel, your mind, in other words, effectively your spirit, let's say, leaves your body, goes to another location, sees what is there, and reports back, shall we say. Now, this was really properly tested by the US military. And another thing to look at is Sumerian history. They are credited with inventing the wheel and in written language, and had super advanced mathematics, to the point where some of their mathematics has only now been fully understood and how it all works, and it's quite extraordinary. And you'd say, well, how is it that they're so far advanced compared to other countries at the time? It was a couple of thousands of years ago. The answer is they were talking about gods. They called them the Anunnaki. Now, they're not really gods in the plural sense that we, as I'm a Christian, incidentally, and many of my Christian friends would say, oh, well, there's only one God. Well, this is true. But what they meant by gods was these people had such extraordinary knowledge, advanced technology, and just overpowering abilities in their sense that they called them gods. Incidentally, back in the 1930s, Australians went to New Guinea to, I think, to create a mine, and the people there in that region had not seen the white people before and treated them as gods, and they showed them, oh, we can point a stick and your pig will die. Of course, it's a gun. Or we can make the sounds come out of this little box, which is a wind-up little record player, you know, phonograph, you know. They were totally astounded. They called them gods, and they said, now what we'll do, you build this, clear all this area here, flatten all this out. We're going to bring in the big silver bird tomorrow or whenever. And they were totally astounded by this. So to them it was like the gods had visited. Well, they're only just some Australian geologists. Sort of illustrates the point that a rather primitive society, seeing somebody who's vastly advanced, would treat those people as gods. So that's the point I'd make about that. So look up that Sumerian history. They had 500,000 baked ceramic tablets of their history. They were all hieroglyphics and all illustrations, including the solar system. Was astounding because it had the sun, it had all the planets in orbit, and it included Saturn with its rings. And that was thousands of years before the invention of the telescope. So nobody could see the rings of Saturn in the time when it was written, so when it was created, I should say, these carvings or hieroglyphics. It's worthwhile looking into, so I draw your attention to that. And as I said, I draw your attention to Stanton Friedman and to remote viewing. Once you couple all this together, you'll get all the evidence you'll ever need that what the book is talking about is true. And they talk about a whole series of alien species that have underground bases in the world, let's say, and that is confirmed by the remote viewing people. And they never expected this to come out, incidentally. I'll give you a couple of examples of what they actually asked them at the time. This is, I think, during the Cold War period. We'll give you a coordinate. All these people were completely independent. They were in different rooms and so on. Give you so many degrees north, so many degrees east. Now you go there and you tell us what you see. There's no hint, there's no ideas that you might, you know, no idea about where it was. Well, one of them would say, oh, I'm over Russia. Or I'm going down to a house on that exact location and it's got certain features in the home. You might say, oh, I can see a grand piano over there and I can see this and I can see all the various features. And they say, thank you very much. That happened to be the Dasher of owned, you know, by President of the Soviet Union. Then they give them this coordinates that say certain number of degrees north, certain number of degrees east, and they write. I don't know if they go into a trance. I guess they do in some way. But what I consider as their mind or their spirit goes instantly, almost immediately to the location. And they said, well, and this is a whole series of people confirmed this quite separately. Over the desert, it's bright desert colours. I see the bright orange, the rocks, mountains, desert sand, and all the rest of it in this particular region. And as I zoom in, I see white domes. I don't know what they're all about, but wait a minute, underneath this base, I see tunnels. I see alien people walking around in this environment. And of course the people doing the testing or requesting their testing examination of this cell would be astounded on it, because you can't get into that Pine Gap base to this day, and in other words, under extremely rare circumstances could anybody visit that. And it's so large, by the way, that the Americans have set it out so that you drive your car literally on the right-hand side of the road, and you have everything that's American to you know, provide all the provisions and the accommodation and what have you. But they don't know what's underneath the base either. Now, that was revealed by remote viewing. Now, these things add up, and they are enough, in a sense, while there would be enough to literally stand up in court if they were put forward as such. So I'm hoping that people who view this will add all of these things together, each one of them, and have a look at it. Now, I've been interested in this sort of thing for many years. I had a UFO experience where I photographed a silver disc back in 1967. In fact, the 5th of March that year, I was with my sister and I photographed this silver disc. It was about estimated to be 35 feet in diameter. The photographs, the negatives I should say, were taken to the United States by a Professor James E. McDonald, who was well known in ufology. Mysteriously, the negatives were lost, inverted commas, by NASA. I still had several photos and I have published those on my Flickr and my Facebook. And the story of that incident was reported in the newspapers, reported in a book on UFOs back in those days. So that's where I get my interest on the subject. So okay, I do recommend that you go out and buy that book or get it from the library, as I've done, or look at the movie of the same name. It's a documentary. But go on YouTube and you type it in and you get a trailer, about a 2 or 3 minute trailer, which gives you a bit of an idea of what's in the movie. They do want to charge. It's on a pay-per-view type situation. Well, I haven't bothered to pay out, frankly, to look at the movie, but the book I've found is very, very interesting. So I'd hope anyway that everybody would find that of some interest and would follow up on it, and I welcome, well thought out and good comments, questions and whatever on the thing. I don't expect anyone to attack me in any way for this, just simply to make some comment in a civilised way, and I'd be very happy to answer that. So thank you for viewing.